Here we are. The governor gave her budget address, I think, on February 5th, right?
Yes.
She went on TV on February 2nd. She gave an address. She asked for 5 minutes of time from all the TV stations in the state. She went on, she talked about desperate times and that our state was looking at an $8.5 billion deficit. And then 3 days, it was a decent address, decent address. She talked about shared sacrifice. She talked about worrying about people, and she talked about a deficit. And then 3 days later, she goes to the legislature, gives a speech, and she gives a $6.5 billion answer to that. Now listen, the mayor and I could balance budgets very easily if we just got to ignore the deficits. And you know, ignoring a $2 to $2.5 to $3 billion deficit is not the way to balance it. There was no leadership. The difference between the governor and the mayor is that under the law, when we propose a budget, it has to be balanced. And yes, it goes to the boards, and yes, they can cut money or change how some of that money is spent. But we have an obligation under the law to present a balanced budget. You know what? So does the governor. She didn't do it. So when you start a situation like that, and such a bad footing, don't be surprised that you end up in this situation. Now, she blames Democrats. She blames Democrats. But you know, she is at fault in this. And of course she should be having real discussions. Of course we should stop governing in press releases. That's what they do up there. You know, this side issues this press release, this side issues that press release. You know, it goes back and forth. Nobody's talking. They're in the same building. The governor's there. Let me tell you what I would do. I'd be in the building. I'd be calling people in. First and foremost, I would have looked at the safety net. And I would say, what do we need to keep people safe in our city, in our state, healthy in our state? What does the safety net cost to maintain? And then we go from there. And other things are going to have to be on the table. There's going to have to be some sacrifice. There's going to have to be some cutting. There's going to have to be some amount of tax increase. Again, I'm the only one of 3 candidates who's acknowledged that more progressive income tax for people earning, you know, $1 million is going to have to come about, or $500,000 is going to have to come. It's interesting. I'm the one who's saying that. But of course I would be at the table, and of course I'd be having those discussions. And the people who represented me in discussions would be empowered to represent me. You know what's happening now? You have this poor guy, Gennaro, from Norwalk, who's the budget director. He goes into negotiations. The governor, actually it's not the governor, Lisa Moody sends somebody to watch him to make sure that he doesn't do anything that she doesn't agree with. He's then got to run back to Lisa Moody and get any approval, and then Lisa Moody goes and tells the governor what she's going to do. Thank you very much. That's how it's working right now. It's not how I run a city. I got news for you. It's not how I run a city. So there'd be a lot more hands-on. But I also got to tell you a couple of other quick things. You will know from me what my legislative agenda is months before the legislature comes into session. I'm going to say, hey, July or August or September, when the session starts in January or February, these are the 3 or 4 things I think beyond the budget that we need to get done. All right? And it'll be fully vetted before that time. And I will have discussions around the state on an ongoing basis about what the budget should look like, about what reasonable predictions are when it comes to budget. I'll tell you something else I'm going to do. I'm going to go to gap financing. Government accounting standards, right? Day one, the first budget, actually it won't be day one, the first budget under the time that I'm governor will in fact comply with all accounting standards. And then we'll also look at something else called results-based, right? We're going to examine programs by what they say they're going to do. We're going to examine them by whether they get it done as well. So it's going to be a very different place. Listen, if you think Connecticut's great, you should vote for somebody else. If you think jobs are great, transportation's great, how we pay for education is great, how Bristol gets treated is great, then you want somebody else other than me. You want change. I'm the only one who's talking. So that is what this campaign is about.